Hello, and welcome to the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we talk about experiences shaping exceptional lives. Today, I'm very excited to have a guest who I've known for a little while. I met her down in San Diego in her home territory. She is an accomplished artist, and she paints one of my most favoriteest things in the world, which is the beach. And I'm excited to get to know her a bit. And uh, while you're watching this show, you can chime in, make some comments, give us your feedback on what you're learning and seeing. I'd like to introduce Sarah Wilczynska. I probably butchered that. She even gave me lessons. Wilczynska, and she's from Poland. She's a founder and artist behind Swill Arts, and we're going to learn all about what she's been doing and why she got into doing artwork and what it is about her career that she loves and why she left Google of all places. I mean, as a techie, that's like the best place in the world to work, but she left Google to pursue her passion. And so that's what I want to learn today is how that's going. So join me in welcoming Sarah from Swill Arts. Hi Sarah, how are you?
Hi, Jim. I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and chat a little bit more. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. So the setting behind you is not a green screen. That's real, right? It's
It's real.
real San Diego beach.
The real deal, actually, by the river. My studio is in Mission Valley, so just by the San Diego River. Very calming, very peaceful. I have all the trees and the river behind me through my window. So I love that setting, as I love all of San Diego.
Yeah. Well, who doesn't? I live a little bit north in Temecula, so my girlfriend and I, Lisa, get down there quite frequently and always enjoy our time there. Secretly, we want to move there someday.
Yeah, both places are nice. I love Temecula as well. I go there for writers and illustrators community, which I'm member of, and also to the beautiful Murrieta Hot Springs. So there is so much goodness everywhere in the county.
There is. So tell us how you started your career. You were with Google for a time, I read.
Yes, correct. For almost a decade. And before that, with UBS Investment Bank. And before that, I studied computer science at Warsaw University and got my master's. So, all my life, really, I was in tech. I was working as a software engineer and climbing that corporate ladder. And at some point during my career, I started realizing it was actually when I was living in New York City with my spouse. And um, New York is a very intense place, always on, very ambitious, and tech industry is always on, very ambitious, and everything is quite production, productivity oriented, goal oriented, more urgency, hustle, hustle, hustle. And at some point, I started to feel like maybe that doesn't resonate with me anymore. Maybe that's not the quality that I'm looking for in my life. And I started also feeling some kind of misalignment at my work. It just wasn't bringing me fulfillment on an
How
every.
did that feel? I mean, what can you describe that feeling? Because I think there's a lot of people out there that have that feeling, but they're for one reason or another. I think I felt it for a long time, but I was afraid to make a jump
Yes.
because you've got this job and it's paying you really well and you've got expenses and you've built up this lifestyle that requires the money, right? So
Absolutely.
you
I
have to weigh
understand.
all that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And this is what people call those like golden handcuffs that are very
Yeah.
hard to break from. And it took me years. It's not like I made my decision overnight because it was so hard. So I started questioning whether my project that I was working on is the right fit, whether My geolocation is the right fit, like the office that I work in, whether my role, I was thinking maybe instead of being a software engineer, I would be more fulfilled as like UX designer or data analyst or business analyst. Like I was considering different roles, different projects, and I actually tried all of these things to show to see what would really like work and kind of solve the issue of just feeling misaligned. And I tried projects that were outside of my main role. So I was doing some diversity, equity, and inclusion championship projects that were not like strictly tech related. I started doing side gigs after my work, and I did a yoga teacher training and a sound healer training, and I started offering like both teaching yoga classes, offering sound healing. So I really tried a lot of things to see what really is it. And it's also hard to like really put your finger on it because you know internally intuitively that something is not aligned, that something is not working great. But
Mhm.
first of all, you doubt yourself because it's maybe like, oh, maybe I'm too idealistic, maybe I'm looking for things that are like don't exist anyways. Second of all, you hear this narrative all the time that like, what are you talking about? You work at the best company in the world, in the tech world, but also in terms of the employer. Like for a reason, Google is a great employer, or at least I can speak to my experience. It was when I was working there, and I had a great team. I was surrounded with highly intelligent people, and I worked on interesting projects. As you said, salary was great, the benefits were great. So even if I confide in someone, a friend, and I share that like I don't feel super fulfilled at my job, what are you talking about? You reached that, pinnacle. And I was promoted to a senior software engineer. But yeah, for a long time I was doubting myself. I wasn't really sure if my intuition is correct. So it took me really a couple of years. And I sometimes compare it to a relationship where everything can be great on paper and the partner might be ticking all the boxes. But if that spark, that chemistry, that vibe is not there, I mean, it's not gonna probably last forever, like sooner or later something might break apart. And that was my experience also with my career. I was trying to patch it, I was trying to make it work, and on paper it was ticking all the boxes. Just that one little last box, which is the spark, the chemistry, the vibe, the passion, the
Not such a
speed.
little box, is it? Yeah, it's so little, it probably it takes up the whole all the other boxes fit inside it.
Yes.
It's tough to make that call though, and you did it. What was the process I mean, you explained a little bit about, all the different things you tried to make that go away and it didn't go away. So how did that resolve?
Eventually, I think after trying all those different options, I also went part-time. So I started working on a 60% work schedule to try to make space for other things, but that never fully kind of scratched that itch. And eventually I realized that I have to make the jump and take a leap of faith, even if I don't know what's next. And I think this was a big part that was blocking me, that I was assuming that in order to quit, I need to have a plan. What is the alternative? What's going to be the replacement? What is my new thing?
Yeah,
And
well, that's kind of the tech mind, right? You've got to be in that world, you've got to be really organized.
yes,
But at the same time though, the software engineers that I know, it's a most of the software engineers, they're unique. I've known a lot of engineers. I've worked with a lot of engineers, and they're technical, but the good ones are creative too.
yes,
So
I mean,
you've got both those sides of your brain, and they're kind of opposite poles. And how do you balance those two? Is a trick.
correct. I completely agree. And even designing algorithms and proper data structures and systems and architectures, it does require creativity. It's not purely just, I don't know, like number crunching. It does require a very creative side of your brain. Um, I think I was maybe back then when I was still working as a software engineer, I was compartmentalizing it a lot. So
Hmm.
I was very analytical with my work and very left brain. And then I was trying to balance it with some creativity after work. But the thing is that like also full-time software engineer job at a tech company for me that was consuming enough of my energy and life force that it's not like there was a lot left for other pursuits, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
So eventually I figured out that I just have to cold quit without knowing what's the plan and be
Wow.
okay.
So you took a real leap of faith.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. It's like making a decision. It's when I kind of did the same thing. I was feeling like I was in engineering and I was there for a long time, almost a decade after college. And I knew I wanted to go out into sales, but I also knew because of the 10 years I spent in engineering, my income went way up, because I was good at it. And then when you take a sales position, everybody is like, "Hey, I'd like to have you join me as a sales position." But you don't have any sales experience, so I can't pay you anything. But I'd love to take you on. It's like, okay, well, but I was so like I couldn't breathe anymore,
Mm.
and it for me it was like the analogy that I use when I explain that feeling is it's taking that leap of faith. I felt like I was in an airplane. I've done some skydiving before, so I know what this feels like. You jump out of an airplane, but I did it in my mind in this analogy without a parachute,
Mm.
with the vision that I would sprout physical wings and fly out of a dive and into a successful career without splatting on the ground, and that's kind of the way it was. I flew, I jumped, and I went for it. And in the end, that's what it takes, I think. And it sounds like you did that too.
Yes, precisely. So I decided to just quit without knowing what's next. And actually, my intention was to create space for something to emerge and unfold on its own. And me and my spouse, we left for 1 year sabbatical. We didn't look for any new job immediately. We rented out our condo in San Diego and we left to Southeast Asia and we traveled for a year without all this pressure of, okay, I have to figure out what's going to be the next thing, but just trying out different things, doing different classes, different trainings, different activities, surrounding myself with new people, new experiences, new cultures, new locations, and letting life show me again what makes me feel alive. And that's how
Very good.
actually my business came to be because it was very organic process. We were living on a small island in Thailand. My spouse was a dive master and I had a lot of unstructured time and I picked up the set of watercolors and just started sketching what was around me, local life, beach scenes, and just local, little ordinary life scenes. And I I actually pat myself on the back because I was brave enough to share it, even though those were very early art creations.
Yeah.
And even though they were technically not so great, but people resonated with them for another reason. People told me that they are kind of memory keepers, that they help them remember this place and
Mm.
emotions and feelings that they associate with this place, this vacation, this stage of their life. And for them, they became keepsakes. And people started buying the stuff from me, my little ordinary live scenes from Koh Tao in Thailand. So that sparked the idea that um, what if I did it full time? I actually love doing it. I love to be this memory keeper for people through my
Mm.
art and sketches of very everyday moments. Um, and I realized that this is the way I can bring people joy by like making them slow down and notice what's already around them and that their life is full of magic, full of beautiful moments. If we slow down enough to just pay attention of those little things around us, it's enough. We are enough. Our lives are enough.
Mm. How was so you decided then to take this as your direction. Wow.
Correct.
That's fantastic. That's like so amazing. What a change going from Google level, like best of the best in the world software engineer to creating little keepsakes for people on the
Yes, little
beach.
snapshots of life. Yes, now that I think about it, I think it was also naive. I was having this innocence of like, "Pff, of course I can do it. Of course it's gonna work out. Oh, what can be so hard about it? All this starving artist is a myth. I'm just gonna, decide that I want to do it and it's gonna somehow work out, right? So I think that innocence have saved me because if I
Yeah.
started to be very
If you'd
methodical,
really thought about it, you'd have gone back. Yeah. Well, good for you. That took a lot. I
yeah,
I I I love that you did that, and I love your work.
thank you so much.
I want to show some of your work here. I'm gonna bring. Is that okay? Can I bring that
Yes,
up?
please do.
Okay. Let's see. There we go. I've got your website up, and so this is Swill Arts. Where? Tell me the story about how you came up with the name Swill Arts.
Yes, so actually Swill is my username from Google. When I used to work at Google, S stands for Sarah and Will is the first three letters of my last name, Wilczynska. And since no one can pronounce my last name, and since we actually had three Sarahs on our team, people just called me by my username, which was Swill. So when I actually started my art business, I thought if I go by my full first and last name, it's a tongue twister. People will not know how to pronounce it, how to spell so many
Yeah.
consonants together. I'm just gonna pick something simpler, and it was a nod also to my previous career at Google. So Swill Arts came to be.
Oh, that's really cool. It's like a melding of the two. How much, speaking of that, how much of your technical side do you get back in touch with when you're doing your art? Or does
So
that even come up anymore?
it does. So first of all, we live in a world where the AI advancements are so quick that the techie in me wanted to jump on board and try like all different tools that help you run the business. So that's like one part. And I would say maybe the art creation itself is not a place where a lot of techie in me jumps in. But I also do a lot of other business related tasks, right? Whether it's strategizing, whether it's the marketing, the vision. We recently completely revamped the website. So
Yeah,
there,
it's beautiful.
thank you. There are still a lot of elements where, it's not exactly like writing code, but there is definitely some tech component to it. We run a CRM with some automations, especially since we started doing more B2B business model. We work much more with hospitality brands, so we needed a CRM. I was recently testing an AI model for retail and wholesale outreach, so that also requires some setup and automations. Again, it's not exactly like writing algorithms, but it is quite technical.
Okay. So it's helping you to run the business and expand your reach
Correct.
and get get what you're doing out there in a way that you can actually move the needle.
Yes.
So you're not the starving artist, hopefully.
I was waiting for the continuation. No, no, I don't succeed
Yeah, well,
in the
good. I
identity.
don't need you to give me your bank statement at all, but he's like,
I truly believe that if you find so here's the thing, like if you only want to do whatever pleases you and you don't care whether there is a market need or not, Well, I'm not sure if you're going to be profitable. You might still be a great artist and do it as a hobby, and maybe that's enough for you, and that's perfectly fine. I think if you want to make it a full time career and if you want to make it a profitable business, you have to overlap what you like doing, what you're good at, and where is the real market need. And it took me a while to figure it out. But eventually, after coming back from the sabbatical, settling back in San Diego, I was doing a lot of urban sketching, so just painting everyday scenes and iconic places from here from San Diego. And ultimately, it started to fit in very much into the hospitality industry, hotels, gift shops, venues for business meeting, conferences, for weddings. All these places are actively looking for keepsakes and experiences that guests actually keep, that guests actually enjoy, that they are not interchangeable, that they are locally made, that they are sustainably made by a local maker, crafter, artist. So I actually found this to be my niche. And it took me a while to figure it out. But that for me was the part to build, like the path to build a profitable and sustainable art business.
So you have a rather impressive wall of logos. Can you share any stories from this field here?
Yes, absolutely. So I can give you a couple of examples. The city of San Diego, I'm proud to say that the office of the mayor of San Diego recently ordered our products that we customized for them as gifts for their visiting diplomats. So that was a great validation for me and the signal that my art and our keepsakes that we make are seen as well representing the city of San Diego. So there was a great collaboration. I also partnered with La Valencia Hotel in La Jolla, and I created for them a limited edition of glass ornaments that had their hotel painted on them. And they used it for VIP gifting, for gifting
Is
to the.
that this one?
Yes, correct.
Wow, it's beautiful.
Thank you. And when I posted it on my social media channels, I had a lot of people who got married at La Valencia reach out to me and ask, can they get one? Where can they buy one? And it was a very limited run. So I'm not sure if everyone got one, but it really generated quite a lot of interest. I also
Very good.
I do events. So, for example, with the Library Foundation or with Chicano Federation as well, I do coloring guest activations. So, I bring my illustrations of San Diego, or I make a custom bespoke illustration for the given event, which I did for Chicano Federation for the theme of their event. It was a fundraiser. And I print those on very high quality watercolor paper, and I bring art supplies and I guide guests through coloring those either coloring sheets or postcards. And it's a very sought after activity, especially at busy meetings, because what I found out is that people are craving that analog pause, that off screen pause, and especially if their minds are very like busy and tired of like a lot of information and processing, this can become a pause, a break, a very tactile break. So some people find it very soothing and regulating, and for a moment they can just like relax. Some people find it very connection building because they would gather at the same table with art supplies and just chill, maybe sip something, color, and start talking to their neighbor without that pressure of like networking and sometimes feeling like I don't even know where to start the small talk, but the conversations flow way easier. So that's another offering that I have specifically for events, again, conventions, conferences, weddings, or any other private or corporate events.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What what is it that inspires you the most of everything that you're doing? What gets you up in the morning?
I truly believe that by slowing down and noticing what is already in our lives, those ordinary moments, those small moments, we can access joy, gratitude, and this feeling of sufficiency. And I truly believe that, well, yeah, I want to believe that through my art and just sketching everyday moments and places that we know and that they bring us like memories, that this helps people to slow down, notice what's already around them, and feel like, you know what? My life is good enough. Like, I don't need to constantly reach out for more and set the next goal and have this feeling of like urgency and always like be productive and more, 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 and next, 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 and bigger, bigger, bigger. But like, life is good. What I have is good. What is around me is good. I'm enough. My life is enough. That really is like the biggest driver of what I do.
How did you evolve into that way of thinking and being?
I think partially it was actually the move from New York City to San Diego. So even just changing the energy of the city from the place that is very high energy, always on. You always have a FOMO. There are always a million things to do, and they are all cool. To a place where you can just breathe. You can take a walk by the ocean. You can go for a hike. You can take a picnic. The pace of living is slower, and I think that already enabled me a lot to reevaluate what's important for me and to make this decision, which had to be decision because it's not easy to consciously keep unsubscribing from urgency, because we do live in an urgency driven culture. Capitalism is very urgency driven. There is a lot of hustle culture. There is a lot of marketing around you always need more, 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 whether it's products or services or self improvement. So, and the same as everyone, like I do fall into that, right? So it's this constant decision of being intentional about like, no, this is not the narrative I want to subscribe to. I want to rewrite that narrative and introduce rest and slowness and noticing and presence and appreciation of beauty around me back in my life.
Do you see yourself as a leader?
Yes, but maybe not in a very traditional way. I think traditionally, especially in the corporate structures, leader is usually a team manager, people's manager, a very formal role. Um, and I always lean more towards like individual contributor within my tech career. I also identify as an introvert, so like not all roles like were perfect fit for me. However, now I'm redefining what a leadership means, and I do believe that by showing people a different possibility, even by role modeling, by living your life on your own terms, by rejecting what is the default script and actually finding like what are my true values and what is that I inherited from society or family, and what is mine versus not mine. Even that authenticity and leading by example, I see that as a leadership as well, just a different version of a leadership.
Beautiful. That very articulated very well. I was thinking that I would hear something similar. It was great. I that's I think the ideal that I like when I hit age 40, it was like, okay, I got to like I was really Mr. Corporate. I was a completely different guy. And I lost myself in that world and it cost me a lot
Mm.
to get out of it. Um, I'm glad I did it, and I'm feeling very similar to what the way you just described right now. But I wasn't that way for a long time, and I was miserable. And for me, it was finding that space where I don't care what other people think anymore of me. It's like and everything's good. Life is good. I don't need to be like making sure everybody else is happy. I don't need to make sure that, I'm perfectly on time. I don't need to make sure that everybody else is, all set before I can be all set. And um so it took me a while to figure that out, right?
I
But
feel it's like a lifelong process. At least in my case, these are things that I constantly have to practice, and I don't always um, like I sometimes fail, and then I have to remind myself and continue. And like it touches so many areas of like the tendency to people please, or the nervous system tendency to fawn, because this was the coping strategy we had as a kid, or the whole big concept of codependency and high functioning codependency, and wanting to like, or feeling like we have to be responsible for other people's reactions and emotions, and we can't make someone disappointed, like all these things that contribute and that we have to like slowly unpack. And for me, it started around the same age. So I'm 41, and I feel like for the last couple of years, I've been looking there and unpacking and building myself again in a more
good.
intentional way.
What's the future look like for you? What do you envision um, manifesting in your life,
I envision building
creating?
a sustainable business that is very much value driven. So we currently already take great pride in being very eco-sustainable, and I want to maintain it. Um, we very much care both for the planet and for the people, so we donate a portion of sales to aligned charities, and I really want to continue doing that. I want us to be good stewards of money and other resources, um, and scale, but in a very sustainable way, and keeping very much the integrity of what we're doing and our values. And um, well, the artist in me, dreams of being the person that if people think like, oh, the watercolor illustrator in San Diego who does very like typical Southern California scenes, they think street art, that would be amazing.
Excellent. How, listening to you describe that, you started off very right brain, or maybe it's left brain, very technical in your description, and then you acquiesced into a more serene picture of the future. Um, so I can see both of those are actively working in your brain at this point, which is cool. I think that's what makes you unique. And being in that moment, being in the space where you're like torn between wanting more and getting this stuff done, moving now, get done, and then relaxing and letting it happen and letting the energy flow the way it should flow naturally in your life. Um, Creating that space for you can where you can be both of those at the same time is a challenge. Do you meditate? How do you keep in that space?
Yes, I think you identified it perfectly, that it is a big challenge, and as many other qualities in life, we have to kind of find a balance between not getting into any extreme. So, I see it as yin and yang, right? Where the yin is the very surrender, very go with the flow, very receptive, whether it's in running the business or life in general, very trusting, very much like universe has my back. Versus yang is very much action oriented, structure, system. I'm going to set the goals. And I think we need both. And to your point, I think, yes, that balance is very hard. And I don't know if we are ever in full balance, or if we are just elastic and flexible enough to kind of bounce back, and depending on the time of our life and what we need, we can stretch ourselves a little bit more that way, a little bit more that way, but like our nervous system has enough capacity for that expansion and contraction. And to your point about meditation, Yes, I do have quite robust morning practice. The type of meditation changes throughout my life because I try different styles and techniques. These days, I love chanting mantras, for example. I do quite a lot of breath work. I do some journaling. I pull some tarot cards in the morning. That's my latest big passion in terms of spirituality. So I have like a different like whole suite of tools, and depending on the period of my life and the given day and the given like needs, I would pick and choose those that are going to help me. Plus movement, physical movement is also like very big for me, and it really helps me regulate, and it's a big component of that.
Excellent. Yeah, I can tell you're just calm. I like that. Um, I wanted to ask you a bit, and I hope this isn't getting into, just you don't have to talk about it if you want to, but I wanted to ask you about your LBGTQ, and you mentioned that on your website, and I just wanted to see where that is in your life and how does it manifest itself
Yeah,
for you?
good question, because it is an important part of my identity. And even if I don't always um, make it very explicit in my artworks, because again, my artworks are more about places and moments, and uh, not specifically like that leaning towards my identity. But I think it is a big important part of who I am. And especially, being multicultural, coming originally from Poland, where the LGBTQ um, landscape is very different than in the US, and specifically than in California, because even within US it can differ quite a lot. And having traveled a lot, um, I also experienced very different realities in very different countries, while acknowledging my privilege that I can always um, be low key and kind of protect my safety, and I can always go back to my country, which a lot of people who live in some countries that are more oppressed, they don't have this privilege. Um, so I also want to be intentional about that, and where do I put my tourist dollars. But yeah, I think it's an important part of who I am, and I definitely want to be open about it, um, just to bring more visibility, representation. Again, it's part of this like authentic living, right? Like, this is who I am, and why should I hide it? Or I just.
Yeah. Well, it's like I don't know. I don't see it for me personally. I mean, I'm an old white guy. I'm like at the bottom of the barrel right now, right? From in terms of like I've been discriminated against a bunch of times for jobs because I'm an old white guy, you know. So I've felt it, but I feel like I'm like the last guy people want to help in some regards because I'm privileged. But am I? you know, it's like okay. So I don't look at it as anybody's different. Like it's like you're who you are to me, and I give you a clean slate when we meet, and we grow from there together. And that's
Absolutely.
really where I like to be with people.
I completely agree with you, Jim. And there is another layer to that. And I don't want to go too deep into those topics because it's like yet another whole podcast episode. But what I just wanted to add is that there is the individual layer where we as individual meet, and our approach and attitude is very important. But there is also the systemic layer. And we do have systemic racism, and we do have systemic homophobia and transphobia and ableism and ageism and all these systems of oppression that are very still, unfortunately, thriving, because there are certain groups of people who benefit from them. And I think acknowledging that these two things are different, that we might be great humans and really treat everyone with respect, and at the same time, some group of people might be systemically, historically, and currently, um, marginalized or oppressed or discriminated against. These are like two different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I try not to spend a whole lot of time thinking about this stuff. Where I focus is, okay, I'm 68 years old. I'm learning AI. I've got AI agents working for me, doing stuff for me every day. I've spent the time and invested in my education and in building projects on my own time to learn it and understand it and put it to work for me in a way that actually helps me move the needle for other people and add value in the world. And for that, I get compensated. And that feels good. And it doesn't matter what color I am or what sexuality I am or whatever, it doesn't matter to me. It's like
Never matter. It should never matter.
everybody has a gift
Yeah.
or a set of gifts
Yes,
and they
and at
should
the
use
same
those.
time, the society has a lot of unconscious biases, and there is so much data and studies showing us how people of certain groups constantly get less opportunities, whether it's medical field, whether it's financial field, whether it's job opportunities, and like a myriad of other areas. So
Yeah.
there is the conscious mind and what we're consciously doing, and then there is unconscious, and the same, there is the individual and there is the collective, and there are so many different combinations of those things that we are
Right.
nuanced as
Yeah.
a
You're
human
right. It's like
being.
it's amazing. I mean, you could get lost in all of that. I I could. I just try to let it flow. Um, so thank you for sharing all that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who are you in the process of becoming now? You're founder of Swill Arts. Swill Arts is obviously making an impact in the world. And you see, based on our conversation today, that what you're doing is going to grow and make even more impacts. You're investing in your community by donating a portion of your proceeds, which is admirable. And it's really for me, it's inspiring to see
Mm.
what's possible from somebody who's taken what would be considered like a world class position of I don't know what to call it. I mean, you've earned it. You got your MBA. You're studied. You're learned. You're smart. You risked getting that job and moving to New York. You took the steps to take it. You took steps of faith to take that and acquire those positions and get those jobs. But you chose to move away from that and do something that's fulfilling to your inside, to your spirit. And I think that what age were you, if you share that, when you made that decision?
39,
39. Okay.
38 perhaps.
So in your 30s, wow. That's great. That's amazing. And then you're making a go of it and making it work. Um, so um, it's fun to see that. It's really exciting. The website you've got is really professional. You're not just a starving artist. You're actually doing something with that in some really big ways. And I want some of your art. I want to hang it in my house. And also, I'd love to be able to, influence anybody out there, especially in the Temecula area, who has an interest in helping out. Take a look at what Sarah's doing, Sarah and her team. How does AI come into your world at this point? I touched on that for me a little bit. What is it like artwork anymore when you go to, I don't know, whatever VO3 or the Claude is getting now. Claude's horrible at it. With there's some like Nano Banana is pretty good at making things, and what are you seeing? Are you playing with that at all, or are you focused totally on being you, creating you, authentic you stuff?
I do both actually. I play with AI, but in a way that it doesn't touch the core of my business. So I believe that if you are a copywriter, you don't want AI to write your copies, right? And if
Right.
you are an artist, you don't want AI to do your art because, like, for me, that's counterproductive. Like, I want to be making my art. But at the same time, I can use AI for a lot of automations, admin stuff. And I actually developed a whole team of AI helpers, if you wish.
Hmm.
So the one that I'm really proud of is my art coach. I trained it in what is my signature style, what are the themes that I like to cover, what are the projects I like to work on, what are my color palettes, what is the style of my line work, like all these details. And then, since I feel like if in every craft, like you're constantly learning, there is always so much more to learn. So I'm always like, I always want to grow and I always want to get feedback. I can't always get a human art coach to do that as much as I would love, but actually having AI being trained in what I'm looking for is very helpful to provide me feedback, direction, like, oh, like if I'm working on a client project and perhaps it's like a wedding art, I can have like an additional set of eyes or like a sounding board, which is going to tell me, well, the composition that you chose is maybe not the best for this particular purpose. Maybe consider like doing a more dynamic composition, right? Or I might be working with a brand and that brand has a very specific personality and like set of characteristics, and I can just like validate my assumptions with AI, like the color palette that I chose, or the general mood, or the emotional vocabulary that I work with for a given artwork. So I find it actually super helpful, and also something that is again sustainable because I might not always be able to um, get that from a human coach or teacher.
Yeah, I use it like that too. It's like I work now as a consultant helping small companies to grow, mostly working with professionals and experts, early stage founders on how to grow their business using aligned sales and marketing. And part of that is what I'm doing is helping using AI. And as we scale those up, what I advocate is if you're getting to a point where you want to hire somebody, make sure you have the process lined up so that it's repeatable and predictable, right? And then instead of hiring a human or bringing in AI, hire an AI trained human.
Hmm.
And to me, that's the next step is like people now should be really focused on how can I use AI to make what I do, my skill, my talent, help me be the best in the world at that. Right. And so and I have the same kind of coach now too with that. And that's been really helpful. Um, and it's funny going through. It'd be interesting to ask you about this because I've had these like epiphanies happen while I'm doing this. It's like, okay, I'm working with Claude, say on a project, and we've been working all day building. Like I built a website. It would have taken me months in Go High Level to do this. With Claude, I did it in 2 days. It was 2 full 8-hour days, but we did it together, and it's like amazing. And uh, I'm thinking, wow, how could like I could never do that on my own. And AI just works 24/7, 365, and there's like I can't compete with that. But the way I'm doing this, I'm hoping I will never have to compete. It's like because you can't, because you got to be human. You got to stop. You got to take breaks. You got to eat. You got to think. You got to have alone time. You got to be with your special people. You got to be in community. You've got to relax. You've got to sleep. You've got to travel. These things you got to do to make things happen in your life. And it's AI's making it really apparent to me that those things, being human, is really important. And I'm learning again a lot about what it is to be human because of this contrast that AI is creating in my life. And it's a good thing.
I do believe so, and I also do believe that, AI, as many other concepts, constructs, that we developed as society, as humanity, is just a tool. It's not inherently good or bad. It doesn't have its own consciousness. It's not the evil of the word. It's not the savor of the word. It is
It's a
just
tool.
a tool. The same as money, it's just a tool. This is something that I'm learning in the recent years, because there is so much stigma and taboo and beliefs about money and many other things in our lives. But it's just a tool, and it fertilizes what is already there. You put it on a ground that was growing wheat, and it's going to grow more wheat. You put it on a ground that had beautiful crop, it's going to have more crops or flowers. Kind of the same with AI. You can use it for really good purposes, really advancing a lot of justice and great projects for humanity, or you can put it to bad use. It's just a tool, and it's up to
Yeah.
us humans. How do we use it, and who do we become through that, as you said? So I love that.
Yeah. So so that leads me back to the question I started all this with about you. Who are you becoming?
i I am becoming a conscious steward of the resources that are all around us, and I am becoming a memory keeper for people. And I'm also becoming an owner of a business that is blending, and again, going back to your example of like dualities and competing forces, I want to run a business that is both profitable and sustainable, and at the same time is doing no harm, and is a good business that is actually good for people, good for the planet, um, operated with good values. And I want to show that these things don't have to be mutually exclusive, um, that we don't have to go to either extreme. Either you're capitalistic and spoiled and bad, and money is the source of our evil, and you don't care about anyone else then, and or you cannot make any money because then you sold yourself, or you're not spiritual, or all these other beliefs that we have. Like, I want to show that there is another path, there is a sacred third, if you wish.
I agree. It's that part of us that's a creator. For me, that's where I'm focused. It's like I am a powerful creator. And in some circles that's blasphemy, but I believe that that's true. We all have that in our in our beingness to create. And it's that it brings purpose if you let it.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And that's I see that in you. I see that you're taking the steps to make what you're doing even on the surface. You mentioned at the beginning when you were just kind of doodling around on the island in Thailand, and then having the courage to show people your first sketches, and they were they were touched emotionally by those things, and they took them home with them, and they experienced that joy that they felt on the beach, that time they spent at that place, and your creation gives them that every day. What a gift.
It is truly a gift. I'm grateful for be able to fulfill that role. It's very satisfying and it's very
Yeah.
purposeful, especially in our world these days, in a world full of urgency and not enough rest and always more, 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 more. Being able to show people that their lives are already enough is a huge gift, and I don't take it
Yes.
lightly.
Yes. One final question. What's, and I think I know the answer, but what is the, if you had to describe the boldest decision that you ever made, what would it be?
Oh gosh, many come to mind. um, Many come to mind, but I will stick to this one. Actually, breaking away from those golden handcuffs and quitting my very good position at Google with all the benefits and supposedly everything that a good job can offer, not knowing what I want to do next, and still taking that leap of faith. I think that was bold.
I would say so too. Yes, yes, definitely deserved. I'll pat you on the back too. Good job. Yeah. So what was the, what did you feel when you made that decision? What did it feel like?
I think it was a mix. It wasn't like one emotion only, and it fluctuated. And it was definitely a mix of anxiety because of the uncertainty, but also pride, also excitement for the new way ahead and for my sabbatical, some kind of freedom and or liberation from an old structure that I already knew I outgrew. Um, yeah, definitely some kind of what would be the word, like uncertainty about the path ahead, but very much mixed with pride, excitement. I think that probably sums it up.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Bold Leadership Story Show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jim. I really enjoyed our chat, and thank you for sharing your platform. Um, and yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Hang on. I'm going to end the broadcast. Hang on a sec if you can.